Okay, Carol, this video is for you. I wanted to put together a video and just kind of go over a few things that you're doing right and a couple things that you're doing wrong. But when I first looked at your offer database that you sent me back on the 17th, um, I didn't even look at the numbers because the first thing I do is to make sure you're doing the number one step correctly, which is farming the MLS correctly. And so what I do, I jump into the search history, and this is kind of the time period that you're farming, and I can quickly see that you're maxing out the MLS. So I took a look to see what you're doing. You're maxing out the number of entries or data properties that you can download, and I could quickly see that you weren't encompassing the neighborhoods correctly. Um, I mean, you were going way too far out to grab. You're grabbing data from different neighborhoods. I mean, this one is one neighborhood, two neighborhoods, three neighborhoods, and in fact, this neighborhood I'd probably go ahead and split up into two because there's so much property. I'd probably split that right in half. Just looking at a different one, going into search history again. Um, Scroll down, take another look at a different one. Um, yeah, here's another one. Right here, you've actually jumped into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different neighborhoods. 9 neighborhoods, really. So I just wanted to real quick go into how to correctly farm this MLS. So when you're looking at neighborhood, instead of selecting, kind of what you're doing is I wish I could get my screen right. There we go. Instead of selecting like 4 different neighborhoods, you really just want to select one neighborhood. So this neighborhood here, encompassed by Buckley, Iliff, Chambers, and Missouri or Mississippi. The reason is, for one, your data is just completely unmanageable at 200, actives, under contracts, and solds. It's hard to compare with that much data. But secondly, this isn't a great example, but in a lot of parts of Denver, this neighborhood is going to be higher price than this neighborhood, and this neighborhood might be higher price than this neighborhood. So your data is going to be completely across the board rather than being more uniform data in this neighborhood. When you start jumping busy streets, you change neighborhoods, you get higher or lower price homes very quickly. In fact, that can actually happen within a neighborhood. But for what we're doing, this is good enough. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, and this was in the other video as well, is that I want to make sure that you stay within a particular area. So in Dropbox is the map of the MLS, or of Denver. It's the MLS map of Denver. And so let's rotate this so we can actually look at it. When you're farming an area, make sure you get everything in that area. So for example, if you're going to farm Aurora South, farm everything in Aurora South. So do this neighborhood, this neighborhood, this neighborhood, this neighborhood, and then work your way back down and kind of get everything in that area before you move on to Aurora North. What I don't want to see is jumping from this neighborhood to this neighborhood to this neighborhood to this neighborhood. It just makes it impossible to try to manage this. I mean, I am trying, just so you understand my goal, and I am trying to have an offer in every single wholesale opportunity in the city of Denver or the Denver metro area. So other than that, after I looked at what you did, I was actually really impressed. Because you kind of missed the boat on one of the easiest pieces, and maybe you just didn't see it in training or skipped that training or whatever happened. But you really kind of nailed it when you came to evaluating properties, and so you did a really good job of putting the correct offer price. And that's, to me, is probably the hardest thing to explain and the hardest thing to learn. But you nailed that, and then you also imported the data correctly into the database. The only one you missed the boat on was this one, and that was this mobile way, and I think what happened here is that this actually will automatically populate if you don't put in a value, and I'm going to fix that so that doesn't happen again. But I think it automatically populated and you just didn't populate it correctly. But just so we go into that, I've already looked at this, so I'm going to look at the history. And that is the neighborhood. I actually already have it pulled up. This is the property. Here are the solds in that neighborhood that I already did a power search and pulled up the high solds. And so here's the high solds. This is 1,700 square foot, completely fixed up, nice new door on there. 1882, that is that house. That's a great comp. So we're in the 180s. 1800 at 170, and so when you pull up your offer calculator and you plug in 170, 175, 180, or 183, you kind of get that $100,000 range. So that's actually what I'm going to offer on that property is $100,000. So a little more on the high side of this, but you'll get a feel for that later. If you would have offered 90,000 or 95,000, I would have thought you were dead on. So anyways, hopefully that helps. I will send this video over to you, and please just chat with me if you have any questions.